Yeah, ho, Prof here, and we got a couple videos for you. Got one here. I don't know if this one will be in this video or this box here will be in there, but one thing I did want to show off is, remember how I have a Case Labs case? That's what Anthrax X or Anthrax 10 is supposed to go in. Well, I've decided against it. I'm probably done with water cooling. Maybe I'll use that case again at some point, but we now have Anthrax X Lite. And I just bought a fractal pop. And that there is, I don't know, a couple hours of work at most. I just kind of poke at it a little bit after work every day. And I don't know. I figured out that everything that I own in my desktop will fit in a fractal pop because of this awesome dual 5.25-inch bay on the front here. So we got optical drive. That's my 4K Blu-ray drive. Correct, of course. And a single hard drive hotspot. And that is, I mean, like, I like having two or more, but that's really all I need. Both M.2 bays in there are like filled in, and here's why the X570 platform is bad for me. 3080 Ti, 3050, 10 gig Ethernet, done, full. And literally because it's a 3 slot or 2.5 slot, a 2 slot into 1 slot, full, literally. So that's why something like this can work for this build, is because I mean, it's going to exactly fit everything, and you'll see in the basement here that it's going to get tight. That's about a hard drive size between my 1300 watt power supply and the 4K Blu-ray drive. So I think it's come together really nice. I didn't expect to get this fancy pantsy pants with it. Originally, I did go with this. This is the NF NF U12A. So it's the two NF812 by 25s in push-pull. This should compete with a D15S. And then I got two more of those fans up top here. Really like on the Fractal Pop how these fans look. I didn't know they were RGB. I thought they might just be single color, but they're RGB. So we got the orange with the orange LED, that nice glow there. A simple RGB controller built right into the case. And then I actually had in the server is a Linus Tech Tips cooler. So I stole the orange corners off of that and popped them on here. And then just while browsing eBay, I found somebody just selling their corners. So I bought another set of corners, and they're on the top fans there. So I may bring the front fans inside the case, which they can do. The silent version of this is like that by default. So we're just kind of poking around, doing stuff like motherboards in. Could easily transfer that over. Was kind of just waiting for the cooler to come in. I painted up a little custom strip there, so it's also orange on the Chromax cover for it. Backside here, like you saw, everything kind of like just fits. I am pre-running because I have one SATA, two SATA, three SATA. I can have a second SATA SSD mounted. I just don't have one. I actually sold it to Squeers. He bought my 2 terabyte, was it like an 870 QVO, I think, off of me. Maybe when one goes on super sale, I'll toss it in there. This is the amazing 960 gig Crucial. That is like old as shit. I got it for $180 back when that was shortly after like a 500 gig drive. Like, it was a big deal. Like, that a 500 gig drive had hit $300 new, and I got this 960 gig for $180 direct from Crucial. So that was when like shortly after the 840 Evo, I want to say, or straight 840 hit that pricing. But yeah, it's all fitting in here really, really nicely. It's going to be a nice little compact guy. There is a little cover that can go over here that's magnetically attached. If you need a mid-tower case, like, I really think of this Fractal Pop as a modern S340, like what's down there for Adrian's build. And toy box is what that is. It's very similar, slightly deeper, but you need that for the behemoth of a graphics card that's up there. And technically, like, I checked, a 4090 Strix will fit in here. I don't know if it'll fit if I move the fans inside. like in. Also, the RGB will be a little bit weaker because it's not right up front. So I'm kind of debating on that. I don't like how empty the front looks here, though. Even once you get the GPU in, there's still like that much empty space in the front. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, and let's grab one of these things here. Probably something more closer to what I just showed you, and that so it's at least PC related, right? And yes, this has become a complete mess because that's the cooler. There's also with the Linux coolers, you get these really thick ones. That's for the pull fans, not on the U12A, but on the older U12S or the D15 as well. They have thicker. Generally speaking, they have the rear fan having thicker grommets, or I think grommets might be gaskets, bumpers, whatever you call them. So it spaces it away from the cooler. That's not needed on the U12A because of how they designed. It's actually an asymmetrical cooler, designed for systems like, like your Ryzen, where you have only dual channel RAM, whereas the D15S and U12S and U14S especially, you can do push-pull on a U14S and with quad channel RAM without any issue. So much more optimized for this platform. Oh, I also used the offset bracket to knock it down. What is it, like 7 mil or something like that? It's designed for AM5, but it does work on AM4. We proved that with Squeers' build. When we repasted, or I should say, when we put in his Terabyte 980 Pro, finally, we repasted it. And I'm like, hey, if we're going through that trouble, might as well put the offset bracket in, because I bought 2 of each. And I'm glad I did, because I didn't know. Here's Noctua offset brackets. I didn't know on my coolers if I needed the short or the long, and I have enough systems with Noctua, I didn't really care. I just bought 2 of each, and I'm like, whatever I got, I'll make it work. And I'll buy what, if I need more of them, I'll order more of them. Like the server will be able to use one. Chibi PC will be able to eventually. I don't think a home theater PC can, because it's got that C-style cooler where it's a top-down. And I looked, and it's like almost bumping up against the graphics card, because the graphics card in there is in the top slot. There isn't that single slot gap. That cooler will eventually need to get replaced, but I don't think Noctua is putting any new 140mm coolers out until they have their new fans out. So we'll see. It just needs a little bit more thermal mass, because under heavy loads, it just barely can't keep up in that 5800X 3D downclocks. So I don't think that would happen on the D15. So what we have here, wrong side, is the new Viper V3 Hyperspeed. And it's odd is that the Viper V3 came out in the Hyperspeed shape first, because normally the new shapes debut in the Pro variant. And usually the Hyperspeed shapes are actually the old shape. Now you can see this thing's pretty grungy. This is my Viper V2 Pro. I actually loved it. Would love to use this at work if possible. The problem is because they focused on weight on this. I don't know. I was charging it, I don't want to say every other day, but almost. And that's just not feasible for a work mouse. If it had a dock, maybe, because then I could just pop it on the dock. But I love this shape for like browsing around your computer, clicking around. The buttons are very out of the way. Stuff like that. I actually love the shape. Really don't like the battery life. And when I was talking about the battery being that bad, that wasn't even with the hyperpolling dongle, the 4000 hertz hyperpolar. For comparison, we'll throw in one of my daily mice, which is a Vaxi XE. I think this shape's actually gonna be decently close to this. This one's actually got to go back to Vaxi because the middle click is going out, and the scroll. So they're gonna replace it under warranty. They did want the packaging back, and I was like, dude, I bought this in January. It's now September, almost October. I'm like, I didn't keep the box for it. I do have my orange box, which is from an even older mouse. Oddly, and they said that's fine. But yeah, they're gonna replace it. Just gotta ship it back. Basically, there's this like squeak and a really long delay when you middle click down. I have a video on it that I may or may not share once this is all resolved. Let me know if you're interested. And then the ratcheting gets all... It's got different like tones to it, and at certain points it gets like really ticky, really scratchy, which is kind of weird. I'm guessing something broken there. I tend to break middle clicks. I've broken 2 G602s, a G403. I don't know. Literally at one point, like I was just breaking all the new Logitech mice back when those mice were new. This is the first middle click I've broken in a while, though. Usually I break the back button. That's what broke on the not Fractal, Fanatic Gear Bolt. They were very... Oh, by the way, this is also going to their... for them to investigate what the fuck happened with it. I forget what facility. I don't know if it's there. I know the Fractal Bolt went back to... Or not Fractal Bolt. We were just in a Fractal case is why. The Fanatic Bolt went back to Fanatic Gear's R&D facility. They actually had to make me a custom return label and told me not to use the RMA label because they wanted to figure out how the heck I broke it. And I don't know. I was just clicking around one day. I clicked the back button and scrunch. So, also broke the back button on the EC3C. Didn't really like that mouse that much though. So actually, once it came back, I never opened it. Because it's essentially a new mouse at this point. That's probably what's gonna happen here because I actually main a yellow one of these. This is originally it just came out in black and white, so I bought the white one. I'm not a huge on the white finish on here. If you're gonna get a XE or the newer NP01S wireless, get a colored one. It's actually got some texture to it, whereas this is like really smooth. This gets greasy, and I don't know, I just have a lot of oil, greasy hands, that sort of stuff. But I'll keep you updated on the RMA for this. It's kind of like a mushy, and there's like play in it, especially because, like I said, I have a yellow one in wireless that I use. I use this one for work, and I use that one for home and gaming. Originally, I wanted to use just this one or the yellow one, but the multi-dongle pairing didn't work in high performance mode, and hopefully with an update I can solve that. But because there's the update that came out with the NP01S that should solve the charging over USB when not plugged into a computer, like USB-C, sorry, and the multi-pairing when in performance mode. What differences between the Viper V2 and the Vaxi XE, for those wondering? This is a much lower mouse. The height at the back of the knuckle to the palm here is much lower right there. Much taller here, and it kind of goes back into the hand more as well. For me, who's like a palm fingertip grip hybrid, more on the palm side than the fingertip grip side, this is a very, very nice shape for me. Like I said, I have 3 of them. I have the wired one. I bought this one in wireless. Basically, like, and this is what happened with Squeers as well. He didn't even buy a wired because based on the design of the wired, we all knew it was going to be wireless. And just went straight for the wireless. I like the wired one so much that I bought a wireless one in a color I didn't necessarily like. Because black or white got white. I mean, I like white. Look white. But I knew the colored ones were coming. I didn't know there'd be such a texture difference. But bought one, and then as soon as they dropped the yellow one, or the colored ones, I bought a yellow one. I might even buy like if there's a change at some point, I might go with like a different color. The blue looks really nice on the NP01S. Where does that all apply? Well, Razer Viper V3 Hyperspeed. What's super What's interesting about this is it's in this weird range of kind of lightweight, kind of not. But it's a Hyperspeed, so it's got Bluetooth, I believe. Let's see here. Does it say? It's definitely got wireless, and Hyperspeed usually means it's got Bluetooth and no, it's just got on-off, so it doesn't even look like it's got Bluetooth. So normally I could grab a bunch of different Hyperspeed mice. The Orochi V2 that I left in Seattle is also like this. Oh, here's my second Orochi V2. This I gotta throw in my laptop bag. This has a switch for 2.4 Bluetooth. So do the Hyperspeed Basilisk and the Hyperspeed Deathadder. Those also have that feature. So normally that's a feature of the Hyperspeed is the Bluetooth to 2.5 gigahertz toggle, and then it runs on AAs, which I prefer for a work mouse. You might have seen me run the Viper V3 wireless, or AAs or AAAs. Like I don't want to have to charge this. Like if I get to like if I'm working and it dies, I need to be able to just swap the bat and keep going. Or if I think it's an issue with the charge, with it being low on battery, just swap the battery and move on. If you're doing on-site tech stuff, which I'm not really anymore, but I was, you should always have batteries on you anyway, because half the my TV doesn't work. It's the batteries in the remote. I'm gonna tell you right now. And you might think that's the dumbest shit ever. That's what it is. So you should. I always kept a 4-pack of AAs and a 4-pack of AAAs on me at all times, so then I could easily swap them into here as well. Yeah, Bad Seed did a good coverage of this, where it's just confusing that this is a Hyperspeed. Because a V3, so this is a V2, they're launching the new shape as a Hyperspeed. But then the Hyperspeed doesn't have the features that you would normally see in a Hyperspeed, which is Bluetooth, right? But then it has the Pro sensor, right? Weird. And it has high-speed dongle compatibility, like the 4K dongle. Which is this is supposed to be the budget mouse. I don't remember how much it was. Sadly, I should have probably. I bought it when I bought a couple other things from Best Buy. It's freaking light. I can tell you that. Wow, there's just this for the packing and the color blacks. Like, there's not even sticky on the feet, which I'm fine with. I always wondered why. It's a big mouse. That is a big old mouse. Oh, shape's way better. Buttons are way better. Side buttons, I mean. If you see how big they are, these are much closer to one of the more modern Deathhadders, whereas this is on the rounded side of the Viper. It's like up in the turn. This is definitely on. Like it's a ledge that sticks out. Much more standard style buttons, kind of like the XE here. The XE is heavier. This doesn't have a bat in it. So here's another thing. There's like a filler thing for the battery, or so that the dongle doesn't fall. That is horrendous. Yeah, you can tell. Okay, let me go get another. Okay, so this is so friggin' weird. The dongle is under the battery. So, let me grab... Wow, they don't even give you a cable. Yeah, this is so weird. I'm not saying I need a cable. It should be USB-C. No, it's not available to be wired. Like, there's no wireless capability. Okay. Load that up. I was gonna say I was gonna get. Yeah, so once the bat's in there, this is lighter. It's really slippery. I can see why Badsy didn't like that. I think this is the new plastic that they put on the Deathadder V3 non-Pro, or the wired version of the Pro. Screws brought that one over, and I did not like it. So I don't know if you'll be able to tell this or not, but so on the XE, the bump's basically here, right behind the buttons, like right there. I think that's perfect because you're already hinging with this part here, yeah. On the new Viper, the bump is back here, like right there. And the buttons already go back much farther than the XE. So the XEs would probably end right about, you can see it's like middle of the buttons, middle of the front button roughly. And this is middle of the buttons, but these buttons are much bigger. So I feel like the XE would be like right about there. So our bump is much further back. Like I'm going to say this shape is much closer like a Deathadder. I don't have easy access to any of the other mice I'm talking about. The only one that might kind of be close is one of my favorites that I really need to order a stock one of. And that is the Rival 106. It's mighty dusty because it hasn't been in a box for months. So this is much taller on the front, like the front where the clicks are. Even if you subtracted my grip tape. This has Kill 8.0s in it. That's why it's red. Here, the bump's right there. Right. Dust all over my hand. So this is a taller mouse in general. I would say this one's more curved and there's more ergonomics in the hand. But I feel like they went the wrong way. Where's the Deathadder? Hold on. I gotta clean up some of these mice. Oh, I'm dumb. Alright, so here's our Deathadder V3 Pro. Okay, so it's way higher. I always gave this mouse crap for not feeling like a Deathadder. Because the shape is completely changed. I mean, I can see why the shape appeals to more people. But, yeah, actually, where the... remember how I said this felt like an ergonomic? This feels like an ambidextrous Deathadder, is what this shape feels like. And I'm being serious, because the bump is in the same spot. Because right now, this side is higher than that side because it's a right-hand ambi mouse. Right? If you just took this side of the mouse, and you may or may not be able to see that, but if you literally just took this side of the mouse and lopped it flat, you're going to get this mouse. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Like, I like the shape, and I'll rock it. I mean, like, yeah, remember, I use 2 of these. 3 if you include once I'm getting back in the office at work. But basically, I have one of these on all of my main computers and main locations I use computers. So I'm very used to... Like, it's to the point where I'm so used to this, even though it doesn't have Bluetooth, I consider carrying around a dongle. That's how used to I am used to this shape I am. The Viper V3 Hyperspeed is actually closer to this than either of these, but the closest thing I think would be, it's not at all like a Viper. So here's a Viper. The thing about the Viper is, you see that gap when I hold it like in palm-ish grip, right? See that like, now I do the same grip. There is, you can't, like, it fills up your hand. Now I prefer that with my grip, but traditionally the people who like the Viper don't want that part. Like, that's what it's actually cut out. If you see, like, they don't want that support there. I mean, I like it, but it's not a Viper. Once again, I don't know why we keep doing that. And then the thing is they have a Viper, because the Cobra, which is also dusty that I need to put in a box right here, is basically the Viper Mini. The steel just dive bombed me. I don't know where it went. Now, Fucking hell, that thing just flew out of nowhere. I tried using this for a while. It's a bit too small for me. If they made a big version of this, you know, like that's if you're saying it's a version of the Viper Mini. If you look though, they are different. We kind of went over that in the Cobra video. But so it's weird that they make the Cobra, which heavily inspired by the Viper's shape, and then take the well-known brand of the Viper right here, and they redo its shape. Right? Like, I mean, I guess they're differentiating, like, this is the Viper now, and we kept the Viper shape, but only the Viper Mini has the Cobra. It's just kind of weird. Yeah, being that the support is more at the knuckle for me, I don't know. I have average size. Actually, for my height, I think I have bigger than average size hands. But I think we have a tape measure right here. Middle fingy to wrist is 8 inches or 20 centimeters, roughly. So there you go. That's hooked on my middle fingy. So, yeah, that's how big my hands are, if that matters to you guys. I'd say I'm on the bigger side, like, you know, I'm 5'11", so say roughly 5'10" to 6 foot. I have larger sized hands for a human of that stature. Like I'm gonna say 18.5 centimeters is pretty average for that. I with my grip, I prefer the bump being closer to these knuckles for an ambi mouse than these, right? But to be serious, if you look at where these lines are and everything, and where the butt lines up, and where the tip lines up, I really think the new Viper V3 is an ambidextrous Deathadder V3. If you look at how, like, they basically just took the right side, sliced it down the middle, and mirrored it. Because these side buttons also remind me way more of a Deathadder than they do a Viper, right? They're skinnier and longer, whereas these are fatter and shorter. These side buttons also feels like butts compared to the original. One nice thing about the original Deathadders were they used the same side clicks as the main clicks. But then starting with the V2 Pro, they're like, oh, we gave you better main clicks, so you should put shit side clicks in. It's like, no. And then these feel probably some of the worst. There's almost no travel on them. They used to have a nice ka-chunk. And I don't know. That's just disappeared. These are even worse. But they're bigger. And I always felt that these were kind of skinny. And then they're weird because they're on this rolled lip. They're like in the rolled lip a little bit. Yeah, the more I look at this and the heights and everything, I feel like they sliced the Deathadder V3 down the middle, took the right side, and mirrored it, and made the Viper V3. What I do need to do, however, though, is pop out this heavy battery. See, look, here's all our dumb... Like, always on the Hyperspeeds, because of the Bluetooth and the wireless, the dongle had its own little spot. Like, say it was here, or it was here, or it was here, or there. Then you would have a spot for the dongle that you could have access. Now, in order to get the dongle, you have to take out the battery, which makes me more and more think this isn't really supposed to be the budget mouse, because they expect you to take the battery out and keep it, or take the dongle out and keep the dongle out. Now, this seems more like a Deathadder V3 Pro, which has no dongle storage, and the Viper V2 Pro, which once again has no dongle storage. People complained about that because if you do want to take this with you, there's no place to put it. So once again, this seems to be like a solution to these two's problems, and these are the Pro models. The texture on these is so much better. Yes, it gets nasty. That's just because I'm not a nasty human, but I have oily skin and sweat a lot, and actually somewhat acidic sweat. If you want to see somebody wear mouse or wear coatings off mice, you're looking at them.
But yeah, this is the same finish that's on the wired Deathadder V3. So like this guy, the V3 Pro, but the black one has a similar texture to this white one, but the corded one, which is only available in black, has this texture, and it's just not texture, is what it is. This is texture, like, right? This, it's not texture. It's much closer to say something like this XE in white, whereas the yellow one and all the other colors like the blue NP01S I also have a bit of texture to them. This is like the opposite of texture. I mean, once you start sweating on it, I think it'll be fine. But these mice, the V2 or the Pro mice, that don't have a dongle spot, that use the Hyperspeed dongles. Those are some of the best texture. Like, it purposely got the white mice to get the different texture on it. Like, that's so good. It's not like sandpaper, because it's not spiky, right? But it's like rough. And it's molded right in. It's not something you're going to wear off. It does catch dirt a little bit more. On the white mice, that doesn't look great. Yeah, I always get the worst sweat right there. And you'll see it on my yellow, because I game with the yellow XE as well. There's like actually like build up here. I can scratch it off. Like it's just shmoo, human shmoo. Let me grab a lithium ion bat, or not lithium ion, but a lithium double A. Double A. Alright, so instead I got a AAA here, lithium AAA, and a adapter to a AA. Hey! Hey! There we go. I cannot see any other way to get this out, by the way. You just kind of bop it like that. Bop it. Twist it. Pull it. Yeah, if you get one of these guys, this is going to be lighter than even a lithium triple or lithium AA. Some of the Hyperspeed mice, and I actually quite like that for laptop use, had both double and AAA slots. See, like this guy. So this is part of the reason why the Orochi became my laptop mouse. Not only is the Orochi actually a laptop mouse, it's a bummer that I left my white one in Seattle with a close friend, but I told him just to keep it. Hey, make your home theater mouse or use it with a laptop or something. Couldn't end up using a laptop because of jobs. There's strict control over what that was. Or some places strictly control like what peripherals use and stuff. But yeah, this has AAA and AA. You'll see that. I don't know if it's in the Basilisk. I think it's in the Deathadder though. Also, usually if you're running, they'll update the shape. So when we went to the Deathadder V3 Pro, the only one that was available in the V2 shape was the Hyperspeed. So usually if you prefer that old shape, you could still get it in a brand new mouse. Like you don't have to track down on eBay or something, or buy old stock, by getting the Hyperspeed one. Here, this is normally how it is. See, you got AA, which, boom, AA, AAA, which both that's great because you don't know, like, when you're out and about, which battery you're going to have access to. You can throw either of them in there in a pinch. Like, ideally, I keep the lightweight lithium-ion AAA in there. But, worst case, if that's all you got is a AA that you're stealing out of a remote, you got it. Just remember to put it back in the remote, because otherwise then I get called out there because their TV's not working. It's because you stole the batteries out of the remote. And then there's a little slot for the dongle Daikazoku. All of these ones, also generally the top comes off. On the Basilisk, Deathadder, and the Orochi. That's why this should really have been an X Hyperspeed. But they tried selling this as a more premium mouse. Some of the reviewers seem to like treat it as a main. You guys are crazy. It's way too small. This is and always has been a laptop mouse. I had the original Orochi back when I had a gaming laptop, which was a horrible decision. Never buy a gaming laptop unless you literally have no other choice. But it's horrible as a laptop, and it's horrible as a gaming computer. You don't want to lug that around. Nowadays, they have the kind of slim ones, but I even think a 15-inch laptop's too big. So, realistically, 15-inch and bigger laptops really only sell in the U.S. as well. Like, that's the main market for them. Yeah. So this is a classic. I don't have the other Hyperspeeds. They're upstairs, unsorted at the moment, because they're getting new boxes and the office is getting moved around, stuff like that. But this is normally how a Hyperspeed is. You pop the top off. Then you get access to, it's either a AA or a AAA or sometimes both. And then there's a little spot, sometimes here, sometimes there, sometimes, for your dongle. And then they also do Bluetooth, right? So this has that slider from 2.4 gig off in Bluetooth. This has none of that. It's like not a Hyperspeed mouse. And then not only that, normally the Orochi was the exception. But normally, it's the older shape. This has the newest shape. And to me, what it really points to is how it loads from the bottom as well. That means the top shell is hard. Like, it's much more designed like the Pro mice, where they have this cutout on the top with this fix here, guys, where they brought the sides up, right? Instead of having the click go over the edge. So much better to do it this way. If you notice, XE has it that way. Or if you do have it go over the edge, do not have a little fang on it, because otherwise my ring finger catches it and holds it down. So many Rocket mice do that. So many other Cooler Master does it. If you look at Rival 106, it doesn't do it. The IntelliMouse Optical doesn't do that wrong. Yeah, you don't want the fang, and this is preferred. This vertical edge, if you look, this is once again updated to the new, like this is the updated new design. And how it comes out of the bottom, the shell is so much stiffer on this because the top doesn't come off of a Hyperspeed, which makes me once again think this wasn't originally designed as a Hyperspeed. With how open the bottom is, if you compare it to like the V3 Pro Deathadder, it's so dang similar, right? It's just so weird that it's missing the Type-C as well. So it's like, it's got all the downside, again, because Hyperspeeds generally don't have Type-C, but they have Bluetooth and 2.5 gigahertz. Now, the one thing I have found, and maybe they lost the Bluetooth when they went to the Hyperpulling or Hyperspeed or Hyperflux, whatever it is, the 4,000 hertz dongle compatibility. That's what happened with Logitech. When they do their Logi Bolt technology, which is replaces the Logitech Universal dongle, those devices lose Bluetooth. And because the Logitech Bolt protocol is built off of Bluetooth, whereas the older 2.5 gigahertz unifying receiver, that's 2.5 gigahertz, but it's not Bluetooth. So the same thing might have had it happen here by adding that hyperpulling support or whatever. They lost Bluetooth. And I think for a Hyperspeed mouse, like the cheaper mouse that is battery operated, that normally has Bluetooth, they shouldn't have done that. They should have kept the Bluetooth. Maybe their findings are that people aren't using the Bluetooth, but generally what I do is I use the Bluetooth on my laptop when I'm not gaming. If I do happen to game, I'll throw the dongle in, but most times if I'm using the dongle, it's on a desktop. See now this is, so you take your dongle out and you want to take it with you. Now you gotta open this door up. And on some mice, they just had a door for the dongle, kind of annoying. But normally you could just put this in there or in there right? No, you got to take the battery out and then wedge it under there. You know, like, well, this seems like an afterthought, but these don't even have storage, so it's better than that. You know, this door is very similar to the Deathadder V2 Pro door for the dongle on the bottom. It's like double width, but otherwise it's very thin. Like, you think you're gonna break it, but I guess you're probably not. But yeah. So now you just got this and this. And there's an on and off switch. So I might ping Bad Seed and be like, hey, have you considered that this mouse is... Now there is a height difference I can see. This is still slightly lower than if you had the right side of this mouse. But to me, this feels more like an ambidextrous Deathadder with where the bump in it is than a Viper. Right? Viper. We got a Viper Mini over there, or a Cobra. There's a Viper Mini upstairs. This feels basically like a ambidextrous Deathadder. And people might argue, oh, it's the Viper. No. Like, this feels like ergonomics. Slice this in half, take the right half, flip it over, mirror it. That's what that feels like where the bump is located. I still prefer the XE. I think if you go down to a lithium ion AAA, this ends up being lighter. Let's do a quick check. Baxi XE, 2.7 ounces. Viper V3 Hyperspeed, 2.4 ounces. So I was incorrect. They're basically the same though, which is probably why I couldn't feel a difference. The clock that sits on top of the weight scale is 3.4 ounces, if you guys were wondering. But yeah, so these two are very comparable. If you use an XE and you're looking for something comparable to it, I guess V3, I think this actually feels less dense, probably because it's a little bit bigger. Try a V3 Hyperspeed, I guess, or more than likely, if you have a V3 Hyperspeed and you're like, I don't know about this, try a Vaxi XE wireless. I love their stuff. They're doing a lot of development. They're doing stuff that you'd never see out of Razer, where like they're actually updating the firmware of the mouse, updating the firmware of the dongle. I think the only time we've seen that out of Razer recently is the Viper V2 Mini Signature Edition, where they added 8,000 hertz polling to the dongle, the wireless dongle, but then didn't backport it to these guys. Whereas generally speaking, with the Vaxi stuff, if you have the wireless one, all their dongles are interchangeable. Like when the NP01S came out and that came with some fixes, they got backported to the XE, which I need to update my yellow one. So hopefully I can just use one mouse for everything, because you can do dongle switching. So that's another interesting is Vaxi doesn't have Bluetooth and wireless, but you can pair two dongles. My issue with switching was always in like the super most high performance mode. But if you switched out of that mode first, and then switched, like say if you're just using like desktop browsing, that worked in standard mode, no problem. Like this one never had issues switching dongles. It's when I put the newer, more high performant firmware on that, like, as basically what they started doing is to extend battery life and get better performance, they start turning off software features in here. So like there's a processor in the mouse that has to do stuff with the sensor, right? Well, if they turn some of those off, there's actually less latency in the sensor and in the mouse reporting because it's doing less. The problem is then that broke a whole bunch of the like charging over to USB-C because it couldn't talk to it anymore, a bunch of stuff like that. But they still kept the old firmware available, so that's why I maintained my white one, my original one with the original firmware, and the yellow one with the high performance firmware. You can't do anything like that with Razer stuff. But I don't particularly like this finish. It has the same finish as the Deathadder V3 wired. which felt cheap to me then, feels cheap to me now. Makes sense that it's in a Hyperspeed mouse. Doesn't make sense that this mouse is a Hyperspeed mouse though. So those be my thoughts there. Well, guys, hopefully you found that useful. Hit me up with comments down below if you have questions. Let me know your take on the Viper V3 Hyperspeed, especially with it coming out so close to the Cobra and that basically being the Viper Mini. It's kind of weird where they're going. I feel like they had a plan and it was working, and now somebody just came in there and threw it all out the freaking window. And I really liked the Pro mice, like the latest generation Pro mice that were in the white there that I showed you. Seriously, I like those. Now, granted, I was still using the Vaxi XE, but I mean, like that's all shape. That's all down to shape and the company and that sort of stuff. And I don't like the new Deathadder. I love the Deathadder V2. That was always my secondary mouse, and to be truthful, it probably would still be my secondary mouse if I needed one at this time. Just because I prefer that older, the true Deathadder shape over the V3 where they fully redesigned it. The V2 had some little tweaks that made everything just a little bit better, right? But I feel like the V3 is just not a Deathadder. It's a Deathadder in name only. Kind of like how the new Viper V3 is a Viper in name only. Yeah. So hopefully you hit that subscribe button, hit that notify one, and we'll see you in future videos. I cover, or try to cover at least all the mice that come in here, whether I buy them or they get sent in, or they come from RMA. A lot of those end up going out to friends usually because I've replaced them by the time they come in. A couple buddies have gotten, it's like, oh, you can get this mouse that can't charge wirelessly anymore, but it's a great mouse. They just run it wired. Or, hey, you can have this, but you got to replace a button or something. Because a lot of these places don't want the mice back. Lately, they've been wanting it back because they're wondering how the hell I've broken them. So if you want some of those stories, take a look back on the channel. Some of them should be posted there. And as always, I'm at TheProfosist on Twitter, Instagram, Threads. And you can always discuss stuff like this in our Discord if you have any questions. Hopefully we'll see you there. Have a good one as always, and peace.